Alright, YouTube, we got our anime getting worse. This one from CA Domain. This one from CA Domain. Let's see what he talking about.
Throughout my life as an anime fan, older shows like the Big Three and Dragon Ball Z have always seemed to be the peak of anime in both quality and popularity. But with series like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen taking the world by storm, that might no longer be the case. But this makes me wonder, has new gen anime finally began to surpass the old gen? Before we talk about how the new generation anime might have surpassed the old generation, we gotta talk about what made the OG anime hard. We gotta talk about what made it good. So honestly, I think, and I don't even want to sound like an old head, but it kind of feels like the OG anime, you just had to be there for it. And let me explain. With the older anime, it always just felt like there was such crazy, like it felt like the stakes were higher.
No. I don't agree with that. I remember watching Dragon Ball and knowing that if Krillin dies for the third time, he's about to get resurrected. So I cannot agree with that. I mean, in some anime, like maybe like Naruto, I can't even say Bleach because Bleach, there's a lot of bullshit power ups or like, even though the stakes felt high, like I do, if he lost, he was gonna get a power up. Ichigo, I'm referencing Ichigo here. So it's like, yeah, and I feel like it was just the impact that they had. I think so. But no matter what you're talking about, like especially with something like media is always gonna get better over time. And this is just anime is one of those. Like we just have to give the old anime the flowers that they deserve because they paved the way. They are excellent, but in terms of quality, the newer stuff is we're in a new generation. We're in a better technology. You know what I'm trying to say. So of course when we made advances in the field of technology, things are gonna get better. So this is only just one of those things that it occurred because things have just gotten better. Quality has gotten better.
So when we got to see Naruto become Hokage, we that really meant something to us because we had sat through and read 700 chapters or watched 500 episodes of Naruto, right? When we saw Ichigo Bankai, it meant something to us because we had seen Ichigo get beat by Byakuya earlier in the series. We had seen him train for his Bankai with Urahara, train for those 3 days. We had seen all that. When Luffy pulled up on 2 Yonko and smacked Kaido and said he'd be the Pirate King, that meant something to us because we remember when Luffy couldn't hang with even admirals or Luffy was weak in Marineford. We remember these scenes and it's like it just feels so satisfying. I feel like with new anime, it feels like sometimes that's not the case. And obviously this could
Well,
be
I mean, like unless My Hero is like the only one that's even got episodes. If we're talking about like new gen, like I don't know what you're counting in there, but like Attack on Titan, a lot of people felt like the ending of Attack on Titan, that was a payoff. A lot of people felt like that. Like most of these new animes haven't even got a chance to do that. So like My Hero might be the sole example of a new gen anime where like you're like, okay, I don't know if getting any payoff feelings from this anime, but from all the other new gens, like Demon Slayer has had its payoff moments, like these shows have had their payoff moments and they're just beginning. So like you can't really do that. You comparing a 500 episode show to a show that got 50 episodes, like 60 episodes. So you should know like you got to give it some time, you got to let it build up and have those payoff moments.
pro and a con, but it feels like overall, it just felt like the storylines had bigger payoff. Like I just think that was a big thing, and that's honestly with the length of a series. Even talking about things like that, it felt like when we talk about peak or pure shonen, I don't know if it can get any better than what we had back in the day. The big three are called the big three for a reason, right? Like imagine you're an anime fan in 20.
Like come on, bro. We get this is what we as anime fans like. You gotta let bygones be bygones. Yes, these are the big three anime. Like they are gonna be considered one of the greats. They're gonna go down in history for all of time. These three anime. But there is gonna be a time when a shonen is gonna come out and it's gonna be than better than these shows in every single aspect. I don't know if we're here there yet, but there's gonna be a time that there's gonna be a main character, a story, animation, just things that blow all these shows out the water. It's not impossible. These are the big three shows because these are the shows that made anime popular in the West. They're what made anime. So they can be overtaken, not in terms of their status, but in terms of how like the quality, you know.
10. We talking about you watching Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. So in 2010, you see Naruto fight Pain. You see Luffy in the midst of Marineford. You see Ichigo fighting Ukiura. It doesn't really get harder than that. It felt kind of like the anime sphere or anime scene was just so like it was just so enriching at that time. And that's kind of funny because overall anime is just way more popular now than it is back then. But it just felt like having been through all the storyline, kind of grew up with the characters.
I mean, then again, like if you talk to a new gen nigga, they're like, oh, we got JJK, we got Demon Slayer, and something else. What they might like. So of course, if you look at it into a perspective of someone who's been in the game for a while, like we might not have three anime that hit like those three were hitting in a second. But for like newer people that come along, like there's plenty of anime that's gonna fill that gauge. They don't have that experience that you said in the beginning. Of going through 700 episodes, waiting for 7 years, for 8 years for this show to finish. They don't have that.
And we see Boruto, even though the show Boruto's trash, it means something to us because we like, damn, Naruto's really grown up. We've grown up with him. That's a big thing, right? I think at that time, back in the day, with OG anime, like Shonen was at its peak. Like I don't know if you had a collection of shonen back then as crazy as it is now. Like I don't even know if you want to count Death Note and Full Metal Alchemist as old OG or new gen. I think enough time has passed that they're probably closer to OG anime than
they're OG.
But
that's
those series, like we're talking about those, you throw the big three, Dragon Ball Z. It's like damn, shonen at its peak, like shonen was really in its bag. And I think that's stuff that we kind of don't really that we take for granted.
Well, this was the beginning of anime. Shonen was in an era where you could create a main character and not have people saying that your main character is boring because we've seen the main character 15 times. We were at a point where the story didn't have to be the best story in the universe because anime was just, coming out. So some of these shonens, people don't look back at them and say they're the greatest of all time, but you look back at them and be like, that was a good anime. And I feel like that's the things that shonen suffer for today. Like the main characters are lackluster to all these people's eyes. The stories are just not good enough. It's like, there's a million reasons why these new shonens are never going to be as good as the old shonens. If you let these people tell you, you let anime fans tell you, that's what they're going to say.
I think in addition to that, something that OG anime had over new gen anime is iconic moments. Shout out my boy Heavy. Shout out Heavy Weather.
Look, iconic moments are iconic because there's been time. There's time has gone, and you can look back at that moment and be like, that moment really hit. Like there's gonna be iconic JJK moments. There's gonna be iconic Demon Slayer moments. There's gonna be iconic New Gen moments. Like episode 19 of Demon Slayer is an iconic moment. So, they just had more time to get out more iconic moments,
You know what I'm saying? Like, subscribe. His channel should be on the screen real quick. Heavy Weather made a video. He was like, yo, what's more iconic, Gear 5 or Super Saiyan? And I think even he in the video was like, let's be honest, it's Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan, Bankai, Gear 2. Like, there's some shit in OG anime that just isn't getting touched. Like, there are people that have probably never even watched an episode of Dragon Ball Z. Someone's hair goes golden. Oh, they know it's Super Saiyan. Like, it's just certain things.
I mean, that's impact. That's just impact. Yeah, no one's going to debate that the big three has impact. Most definitely. If the big three didn't have impact, most people that watch anime wouldn't be watching anime to this day. So no one's gonna deny that the big three has impact. That's the main thing that you argue when you argue for the big three. It's impact. They 1,000,000% got impact.
Like that. OG anime just has it on lock. And that might even be an unfair standpoint because I think a lot of things that have to do with iconicness or just things along those lines is time. You know what I'm saying? Something can't be iconic. You won't really have a moment that's iconic the day it dropped or 2 weeks after it dropped. It takes time for it to build that iconicness. But hey, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Old OG anime have that. So with that kind of stuff, like you have to look at it. It's like OG anime seem grander as a result. No one's touching the Saiyan saga. And don't get me started on Dragon Ball Z because if you watch my video about Dragon Ball Z, y'all know how I feel about it. But even so, us anime fans, it's almost like a certain level of respect you have to put on shows like that, or arcs and series like that. Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, they're like a grandmaster. They just have that certain allure to it, that aura, right? That's the argument for the OG anime. You can't lie. That's a pretty good argument. But let's be honest, bro, there's more to it. And I think this is a thing that you'll notice with new gen anime, because I talked about how the storylines and payoffs are great because of how long the series are. But I gotta be honest, that could be a con as well. Because when we're talking about new gen anime, one thing they do really, really well is they have almost no filler. So if we're talking about OG anime for the most part, like the Naruto, the Bleaches, and the One Pieces of the world, they had this crazy thing that y'all all know about, and that's
Just look, I'm just gonna preemptively say I don't know if this is what you're about to do, but if you're about to try to tell me that filler is a good thing, we are about to have a problem. Please do not do that. Please don't tell me that's what you're about to do.
it's called filler, right? Obviously, the anime was catching up too much to the manga. They had to throw the filler on you. And filler's trash for the most part. I mean, there are some series that do filler okay, better than others, but filler overall is just not a great thing. The way new anime are structured now, it's so much better. So we obviously have it's a seasonal thing, right? Most anime besides like One Piece are pretty much seasonal. So you'll get the season, you'll get the anime, and boom, that's it. Like, you're gonna wait a while before you get the next arc in anime. And that leads to two things. That leads, one, the manga of the series to be way farther ahead than the anime, but it also leads to having virtually no filler. And when you're watching a series in real time, like when you're watching a live series, that filler stuff really means something. Like, no, people hated on Naruto for years about the filler. And obviously now it's a little bit better because Naruto's over, but at the time, I know there were people that after, like, when Naruto lost to Sasuke in part 1, it's like, damn, what is going on? Why is he fighting a monkey? I don't know why he's fighting a monkey, but the real reason he's fighting a monkey is because it's filler, right? So that's a big thing as well. We have to talk about the no filler. And the second pro with new gen anime being a quicker series overall is that we can get into the plot and peak moments quicker, which leads us to have better pacing. Because let's be honest, a lot of issues people have with Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach is that the pacing is bad. One Piece is a series that people...
I mean, when they came out, the pacing wasn't bad, but when you look back with your rose-tinted glasses, you can undoubtedly say the pacing is ass. Compared to what we have now, there's no universe where you take One Piece pacing over a seasonal anime. That just is what it is.
I have a lot of friends, like shout out Kareem, Jim, Shaq. They don't say, oh, I watched this many episodes of One Piece, or I watched this many episodes of Bleach, and it's like, damn, it's still not hard. And I'm always like, yo, well, One Piece is 1,100 episodes. So if you watch 20, what percentage is that? But that's still a hard ask of people. Like, why am I going to sit through 500 episodes of something just for it to get good? And not saying that that's how it is for those series, but it's like, it definitely is kind of a slog sometimes.
It is.
Shout out Naruto, because Naruto did it pretty well, but for the most part, new gen anime, they jump right into it. There's almost no gap in time. There's series like JJK, within like 5 episodes, you're supposed to be hooked. Like, thinking about JJK, the first season, that's like, what, 12 episodes? Like, 12 episodes of JJK, and that's the entire season. So, you give me, what, 25 episodes? Which, for Bleach, that's like, are we even fighting Renji yet? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, right? But 25 episodes of JJK, Toji dead, Gojo, a lot of stuff's happening right now, you know what I'm saying?
But I also, like, this is a pro, but recently, I've been thinking this is a con, bro. Like, I've been hearing so much people say that JJK is just an action fest, right? And there's so much story in JJK. And I think the problem is that since the story goes so fast, people can't digest the story. And it's like, no one's going to question what's going on in One Piece. No one questioned what happened in Naruto. No one questioned what happened in Dragon Ball because the pacing was so slow. You understand the story. So maybe it's just these people aren't paying attention, or maybe just this fast story is just killing niggas when it comes to what's happening in the story. Because, like, people are not, like, I might put the comment up. There was a guy that commented on one of my videos, and he said that JJK's story is like Dark Souls. Like, most people play it for the fights, but there's so much lore when you really look into it. And, like, dead ass, that's kind of true with JJK. Like, there's so much story, but if you're only looking for the action, like, it's there, but you have to acknowledge the story that's there too. You can't say that there's no story. So I feel like that is a pro, but, like, if people keep on saying how they are saying, like, about these anime, that, oh, they don't got a story, but they have a story, it might be a con.
So it's just a difference in pacing. I think that means a lot in terms of getting people to watch the series. Like, that means something. It's a slog. So we have to talk about that. Manga spoilers ahead, so you know what I'm saying, just so no one gets spoiled. On stream with my friends, we talked about Gojo versus Sukuna, and we spoke about how the hype of the manga was crazy unique, and I kind of compared it to, people talked about how the hype of Gojo versus Sukuna is all time, and this has never happened before. And I was kind of thinking about, like, oh, what about Naruto versus Sasuke?
Cap.
But people in the stream kind of pointed out, like, yo, it's not the same, because imagine the pacing of the Four Shinobi War, like the manga spoilers of JJK, which I'm not gonna lie, we all know is a little bit annoying, but nonetheless, the hype and crazy moments, the crazy hype of the manga spoilers being dropped that same day, it only happens because the pacing is so good. The new gen anime have the pacing on lock. Like, look at like Fire Force, Demon Slayer.
I don't know, because then like I jump and we just go to like an anime that had a fucking hype moment like Dragon Ball Super, man. And even though it's newer, like it still had very Dragon Ball pacing. Like nothing about Super. Super was very like reminiscent to Dragon Ball with the way it did its story, right? And Ultra Instinct had the streets on lock. You know how much niggas were waiting for Ultra Instinct? And it was only because the way that Dragon Ball builds up its pacing. That shit was so slow. They teased Ultra Instinct for like 20 fucking episodes. And it just built up hype and hype and hype. So yes and no. Like yes and no. Like that old type of style that, you know, that those shows go, like it does build up hype way more than the new gen. And it's like, and then like, I don't know if you want to count the manga spoilers, because like if you're anime only, like yes, like me, like I know about Sukuna. I mean, yeah, Sukuna versus Gojo, but I have no idea what happens in the fight. I've been staying away from it. So like, am I really hyped up for it? Not really, because I have no idea what's gonna occur. So when the moment comes, the moment comes. But like, it's not something where I'm like, okay, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for it to get animated. But like Ultra Instinct, like bro, it was like, when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? The build up was just building, you know.
All these shows, they're not that long. They're not even 100 episodes, some of them, right? And even if they are, they're like kind of like My Hero, where they're cutting the seasons, and the seasons are a lot more stuff gets done in that time. And that's a point for the new gen. Like, that does mean stuff. And I think even overall, I think this is another point we can kind of talk about why we want to look at the shonen might not be as hard in the new gen. I think when you talk about the top tiers of shonen, it's like JJK, and you go like Fire Force, My Hero, Demon Slayer. And I know a lot of people don't like Fire Force and My Hero. They don't think they're that good. But I think the overall...
Yeah, hey, don't lump Fire Force in with My Hero, bro. Only niggas that say Fire Force isn't good are niggas that ain't watched it. Deadass.
Climate of anime is just way better in new gen than it is OG. It's just way better with the new generation than it was back in the day. Nowadays, there's some crazy anime coming out that's taking the world by storm. It's like you can find an elite anime for anything you want to watch. And I feel like
that's
back
a
in
fact.
the day,
On
it
God,
really
that's
wasn't
a fact.
the case as much, you know what I'm saying? And even adding that to the fact of, I'm not even talking about things like animation, art style. And while art style I think is a little bit more subjective, there's no argument for animation. Say what you want about Demon Slayer. You could talk about anything. You talk about the plot, blah, 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 the ending. It doesn't matter at all, bro. It doesn't matter. The thing I gotta speak about with Demon Slayer is the animation, because that shit is hard.
You know, one thing that I just don't understand, and maybe it's like because a lot of new gens talk about this. A lot of people like to talk about Demon Slayer for animation, right? And Demon Slayer has fantastic animation, but why doesn't Fate get these same flowers? Ufotable made Fate. They've been doing this animation shit for years. They were dropping bangers, killing the anime industry in terms of animation. Fate was looking better than anything else when it came out. Any other, bro, like come on. But it don't give flowers like Demon Slayer gets flowers, bro. It's crazy to me.
The animation for Demon Slayer is one of a kind. The animation for the new generation anime it's just off the charts. And it's like, this means something. I always say all the time that Demon Slayer's water looks better than the water I have in my house. It looks better than the water you have in your house. That stuff does mean stuff. I think it honestly makes the product of new generation anime low-key better than the OG ones. It's a lot of stuff like that where it's like, okay, well, back in the day, like they were great series for their time. And I think that this points out that OG anime, they might have seemed like better viewing experiences. But when you come back and watch them now and you compare them like critically thinking, some of them don't all stack up. And I think we got to kind of talk about that. We might be at a point in time where the new generation anime surpassed the old. And honestly, I didn't think that this would happen. 2016, the boost of like Black Clover and My Hero, Boruto, those series just didn't seem like they could ever supplant OG anime. Now that I'm looking around and the dust is settled, we have things like JJK and Vinland Saga. I'm looking around and I'm like, whoa, hold on now. Anime might be as good as it's ever been. But let me know what y'all think down
That's
below.
not even a question. Anime is definitely as good as it ever is. I like to use this analogy a lot on this channel because it really is a good analogy when you compare old gen and new gen. And it's like the old generation of the NBA to the new generation of the NBA. It's like you're gonna look back at the old generation of NBA and you're always gonna give them their flowers because they were great players in their time, right? But when you put them up skill for skill to this generation, like this generation players are just better. They're just better in almost every aspect than the old generation players were. So it's like it's the same thing with anime. In almost every aspect, our animes have evolved, and that's a great thing. That's what we want as an anime community. So it's just what we have to do is just give our flowers to the old animes. We don't gotta hate on them and say it's not as good as JJK. JJK is only here because an anime like Naruto paved the way. An anime like One Piece paved the way, like Bleach. So just give the flowers to it. That's all we gotta do, and just appreciate the new things that come around. I'm telling you, man.
Below, because this is a very subjective topic, and honestly, it all just depends on what y'all think. Do you think OG anime are still better than the new ones? Do you think the new ones have surpassed the old ones? Do you think they're equal? Like, what do you think?
I don't think it's subjective at all. I think if you honestly believe that old anime are better than new anime, like, you're just holding on to some nostalgia. You have some bias, and that's okay. I think recency bias is a thing, when people say, like, there's no comparison between JJK and Naruto. JJK just blows Naruto out the water. Like, those people have a problem too. But and for the most aspect, the average anime that came out in the old generation compared to the average anime that comes out now, the new one is probably 10 times better. So it's just that's how you got to look at it.
Think is the best? Just let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know down below. Obviously, thanks again for 1,000 subs. This is like the first
Congratulations,
video I've actually recorded since then. So I appreciate everyone who helped me on the journey. You know what I'm saying? It's meant a lot to me. Appreciate everyone that's helped throughout the process. And now, you know what I'm saying, we're on the journey to 2K subs. So you know how it is. We're always striving for more. But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe.
Great video. Great video, Domain. Great video. I think, you gotta not allow yourself to think about old generation versus new generation. Like I just said, just give the praise to the old generation anime. We wouldn't be able to watch animes like JJK if it wasn't for those shows. So don't talk about which one's better. Just give the flower to the old ones and acknowledge that the new generation animes are fantastic. That's all we got to do. But great video, nonetheless. CA, great video. So you liked the video? You'll like this one too. Go ahead and click on that. Yeah. You're still here? So you don't fuck with me? Alright, I'ma just